Well, let's bring in Andreas Krieg. He's a senior lecturer in security studies at King's College London. He joins us now from there. Andreas, given what we're seeing on that border with Lebanon, what do you make of the threat of escalation? Do you think it hinges on if or perhaps when there'll be a ground invasion?
Yes, I mean, it is all about a when rather than an if. I can't see how Israel, with all the rhetoric, all the pressures as well on the government to take, to hold Hamas to account, that they would allow this to just go, this opportunity to go to waste. And we're seeing that the IDF is already fairly nervous that time is working against them, and they're already saying and pushing. And saying, why are we not going in? Why are we wasting time? There is a lot of factors for that. One is obviously the US wants to get ready. Everyone is feeling that also on the northern border, it could very easily escalate, and the US would then be dragged indirectly into a war that they have so far unequivocally supported, and it is already being dragged in overnight in Iraq, where US interests and US forces were attacked by Iranian proxies. So we're right on the knife's edge of a situation that could easily escalate. So there's a lot of considerations to take into account. This is not just the operational considerations of the IDF, but the piece of the wider region.
Well, let's talk a little bit more about those considerations, because US media, I understand, are reporting that the State Department is now drawing up contingency plans to evacuate hundreds of thousands of its citizens in the region if this war in Gaza escalates. Around 600,000 Americans live in Israel, and another 86,000 are in Lebanon. But Washington's concern also extends beyond these two countries. Last week, the State Department warned US citizens to, and I'm quoting here, exercise increased caution due to increased tensions in various locations. A potential evacuation, we understand, could include US Air Force planes and Navy warships, which have also been sent to the region. Andreas, when we spoke yesterday, we discussed the speculation that the US wants this ground offensive delayed, partly so it can prepare itself for potential proxy conflicts. That presumably also means making these sorts of evacuation plans. What sort of scale are we talking?
So far, it's on a fairly low scale in terms of where we are in Gaza, and the US wants to retain it that way. Also, if you look at the US forces in the Eastern Mediterranean and around, the Levant, it is fairly limited. Most of their forces are deployed in the Gulf, which are fairly far away. But if we look at the escalation and where it could go, and obviously the US would have to support it. My guess is if Israel gets dragged into a very messy ground offensive on the ground in Gaza, and then a second front will open on the northern border, Israel will get sucked into a war with Hezbollah. Eventually, I think Israel would have to be fought to some sort of standstill. I don't think they can retain and support a two-front war for an indefinite period of time. And then we might see the US being dragged in trying to provide support, providing intelligence, potentially getting involved in targeting. So it's a slippery slope where over time we might see US targets then elsewhere in the region to become legitimate targets for Iranian proxies and their militia forces. And let's not forget there are quite a lot of troops in the Gulf, and Iran is right on the doorstep. So we're at a war game now where by iteration after iteration we could see an escalation if diplomacy does not win. And I think we're now at a point when it comes to negotiating over hostages, which should be a primary concern, is there is a window where we could over time get these hostages released rather than sacrificing them for a war effort that I think will not generate any strategic returns for Israel.
Andreas Krieg there, a senior lecturer in security studies at King's College London. Always great to get your thoughts and expertise on Al Jazeera. Andreas, thanks for joining us again.
Thank you.